Hello there. The longer the border force strike continues, the more it becomes obvious that it is the armed forces personnel that do not get paid what they're really worth. Now, if you haven't already done so, please do subscribe, click the little bell, select all, and then like and comment below. Once again, we're getting reports that when the armed forces step in and take over from Border Force during these strikes, the efficiency of the service to travellers increases. With reports that far from facing hours of confused queuing, people are through passport control in a matter of minutes. If I were the leader of the PCS union, Mark Sirotkin, I would be a worried man, as it seems that his strikes are not having the desired effect on the public. Rather than wanting his people back at work, the general public appears to be happier with them being absent. Because far from backing Border Force for a large pay rise, many in the public are now wondering if a pay cut and some proper training wouldn't be more in order. And maybe the public would be more than happy to hear that the strikes might go on much longer than expected if the government doesn't cave in. But I would argue that maybe the armed forces attract people of a high calibre in the first place, people with a more can-do attitude and more willing to go the extra mile when doing what they do. Or maybe service training helps bring that out in people. Then there's the people skills they generally have, after possibly many years of having to work close together in very stressful situations. And it's people like that who would command a premium in Civvy Street, instead of standing in for those who may well get paid more than them. Now the Border Force and unions are claiming that the force's personnel are just waving the crowds through without properly checking anything, a sort of crowd control, if you will, because they are not empowered to stop anyone anyway. But the force's chiefs say this is not true, and it's been pointed out that they have qualified border staff on hand to call in should they need to detain anyone. And I'm sure the armed forces are more awake than most to the repercussions of just waving people through. Now, you may not have noticed, but the eco-loons are now nowhere to be seen at the moment. Are they celebrating Christmas, or is it something else? I reckon the cold weather has put them off of their campaign to combat global warming, or heating, as some of them like to put it when the weather is warmer. You'd think they'd be made of hardier stuff and still be sitting superglued to freezing tarmac in order to save the planet. I mean, they do keep telling us that we can't waste a moment and that climate calamity is already upon us. So why are they sat in their houses, probably being warmed by the output of burning of fossil fuels, while they let the planet die around them? Where's their dedication? Or is this climate stuff only applicable when it's nice and warm outside? And the answer as to why it looks like there are so many of them is that there are quite a few that get arrested more than once, but go on to re-offend straight after getting out of court, and that should stop for a start. So the Reform UK Party lifetime President Nigel Farage will not be standing for Parliament in the next general election. According to reports, he does not want to add to his current tally of 7 election defeats, the last one in Thanet in 2015. And talking to the Mirror, Farage said that, "The truth of it is, anywhere I stood, they would cheat. They would break the law. They just would. Not one went to prison last time. The result stood. One person got a suspended sentence." And he went on to say that getting into Parliament is not on his bucket list, as he is quite happy with his life as it is. "I don't dream at night of doing it," he said. "But if they go on messing up the way they are, I just might at some point feel compelled to." Now this will please the lefty anti-Brexiteers no end, because they won't have to tie up so much time and effort and money in one single area to try and defeat one single politician. But it will disappoint many Brexiteers, who will think that his absence from the centre of politics in the next general election could well remove a lot of the fire and drive that would otherwise keep the Tories honest and get them back on an electable track. Although given their current political trajectory, Sunak's Tories might already have gone past the point of no return. So there's now going to be a new mayor of the North East to level up Northumberland, Newcastle, North Tyneside, Gateshead, South Tyneside, Sunderland and County Durham, says a government press release, with elections planned for 2024. And Michael Gove, the Levelling Up Secretary, says that the new mayoralty region will get 1.4 billion quid over the next 30 years to help it along. That makes £46.7 million a year. And I wonder how much of that will be left after the mayor's wages and those of his new hangers-on, as well as all their expenses, and obtaining new office space and running it with all that new IT and heating it, and all those travel costs. You know how these people love to globetrot at our expense. So how much will be left after all that is factored in? And I do have to wonder whether this is actually new money or just redistributed from out of the current council's budgets. So the area will get another politician and all the trappings and administrators. But how many doctors, nurses and police officers will it deliver? Here we are in a cost of living crisis, and all the government can deliver is more politicians. And as it devolves power out of Westminster into the regions, will the Westminster budgets and headcounts shrink accordingly? Or will we end up paying more for our political services? Answers on a postcard. Now I just have to point out that HMRC has tripped over where diversity is concerned. Oh yes, someone needs re-educating. The government put out a press release today saying, "It's a cracker, 3,275 filed tax returns on Christmas Day," explaining that thousands of people joyously filed their self-assessment tax returns online on Christmas Day. A total of 22,060 customers went online to submit their form for the 2021 to 2022 tax year between the 24th and 26th of December 2022, and 141 opted to file between 2300 and midnight on Christmas Eve, meaning they could enjoy celebrations knowing their tax return was complete, it said. And it went on to break down how many people filed tax returns on Christmas Eve, Christmas Day and Boxing Day. But with fewer than 50% of people in the UK now identifying as Christian, according to the 2021 census, the press release seems to assume that everyone was celebrating Christmas. Didn't they get the memo? If more people are atheist or of another religion, then for them it might just have been the fact that it was a quiet weekend business-wise and a good time to do some administration. After all, most people would, I imagine, only do their tax return at the last possible moment or because they actually had nothing better to do. Not something to be done amid the celebrations. I mean, filling in the tax return is not exactly family entertainment, is it? I wonder if this press release was ticked off by the burgeoning diversity and lived experience department first. And finally, when subscribing, please don't forget to press that little bell and also select the all option, or you won't get any notifications when I publish a new video. And thank you all so much for taking the time to watch the show.